Welcome to the full summary of the Riggs 2 seasons, the series that takes us to the depths of the North Sea, specifically to an oil platform owned by Kinloch. There we meet the young boss, the newest member of the team, who has been assigned several triple shifts due to the lack of personnel. In the central office, we meet Magnus, who is talking to headquarters. They have told him that the helicopter has been delayed and they will have to wait longer. As soon as he gives the news to the crew, things get worse and all communications go down. Fulmer, the expert, can't restore the connection and now they're cut off from the outside world. Then they hold a meeting to discuss their options. When Fulmer appears and points at the lights, they start flickering until they go out completely and the entire platform loses power. It seems everything worsens by the second, the equipment isn't working, and following protocol, the team must wear safety suits and prepare for a full inspection of the facilities. As the electricity isn't returning, the team turns on the backup batteries, managing to power up the platform monitors, which start emitting a pressure alarm in the pit. Outside the office, we meet Alwyn, the most experienced worker on the team, who is left perplexed when he looks towards the other platform, located less than 2 kilometers away. The hydraulic arm is engulfed in flames, and suddenly the platform begins to shake aggressively, until the worst happens with both stations suffering a fire. Alwyn asks Magnus for permission to shut down the pit, but Rose says it would cost millions. They can control the fire without shutting everything down. However, Magnus is more concerned about the lives of his men than the company's money and approves the order to shut everything down. As soon as the platform stops pumping oil, the electricity returns and all the alarms turn off, giving the whole team a few minutes of peace. But that doesn't last long. On Platform 2, things quickly get worse and it starts to shake. Although the radios work, Magnus can only hear screams from the other side, and when he goes out to look, he sees how a huge cloud of fog engulfs the second platform. This is rapidly approaching them, and they don't know if it's dangerous, so Magnus orders a code red, and all the workers run to take shelter inside. Once they confirm that it's just fog and not toxic, they start brainstorming to figure out what the hell is going on. In all his years as lead, the platform had never trembled. Alwyn believes they reached the bottom of the reservoir, but Rose tells him that the analyses indicate it will be years before that happens. Magnus decides the best action is to restore communications. Maybe something is happening outside they don't know, so he sends Fulmer and his team to fix the communications tower. The tower is dozens of meters high. Bass is the first to climb, and being young and strong, he has no problems. Except when a seagull appears and gives him the scare of his life. Barely recovering from the scare, he continues to the top of the tower and secures the rope for Fulmer, who then climbs up to check the equipment. While Fulmer tries to work, but keeps complaining, he's a bundle of nerves and distracts Fulmer, who could die if he touches the wrong switch. Fulmer does his job and finishes the inspection. At that moment, Buzz gets distracted by the seagull that attacked him before, and suddenly a noise shakes the entire platform. While everyone looks for the noise source, Buzz falls from the tower and crashes to the ground. The accident must be investigated. Buzz was supposed to be secured by his safety rope, so Fulmer becomes the prime suspect of what happened. The paramedics arrive and attend to Buzz. While Magnus yells at Fulmer for an explanation of what happened, he tells him that he doesn't know. He never touched the kid's safety rope, plus, the communications are fine. Magnus tells him to return to the bridge and try to call a rescue helicopter. However, Rose has news for everyone. The company's map, which indicates all the platforms in operation, shows a general failure at all locations. All the platforms are experiencing the same thing and are probably as lost as they are about what's happening. Hudson, the head of staff, is furious. The safety of the workers is his responsibility, and he blames Magnus for forcing the rookie to climb the tower. Later, Hutton gathers all the employees and shows them a document that Rose brought, explaining that they will all be laid off and the platform will be shut down. In front of everyone, he accuses Magnus of being a poor leader and causing Buzz's accident and the dismissal of all. While Magnus tries to explain to the crew what's happening, Buzz appears behind them naked. He starts saying it's too late. Something is coming to devour them all. Then, a rain of ashes falls on everyone on the platform. Magnus takes Buzz to the infirmary, where Kat sedates him for now. However, the young man keeps talking about the wave that will devour them all. Outside the platform, one of the men manages to see a light in the distance. It blinks repeatedly, and he manages to decipher that it is Morse code. Perhaps it is Platform 2 trying to tell them something important. Meanwhile, Dunlop tells Magnus they can evacuate the crew on the boat, get everyone to safety in a couple of hours. But Rose refuses, saying oil extraction must continue. In the infirmary, Buzz wakes up only to realize that all his wounds and fractures have healed. However, he continues to have horrible visions as he can. He manages to put on his safety suit and tries to escape from the platform. But suddenly he feels his teeth growing back and then vomits a molar made of gold. On the bridge, Fulmer tells Magnus that if they plan to evacuate the crew, this is their last chance. Rose refuses again, but Magnus stands up and tells her to mind her business because he, always dirty, prefers saving his people's lives over working for Kinlodge. It is here when we find out that Magnus would not be dismissed like the others. But there is no time to discuss that matter because Kat arrives to tell them that Buzz disappeared. A few minutes later, we see him arrive at Alwyn's room and start drawing something strange on the glass with his nails. Alwyn arrives and he confesses that something is controlling his thoughts. Led, the employee who was noting down the Morse code, returns to the infirmary to tell Kat that he feels unwell, but the place is empty, so he steals some alcohol and mixes it with water, a way of getting drunk he learned in the army. When he returns to his cabin, he tries to take a shower when he realizes that the ash has penetrated his suit and suddenly his tattoos start to bleed. While trying to wash the ash off their body, they can see their tattoos disappearing. Then they look at their chest and see that one of their largest tattoos is profusely bleeding, and after a few seconds they die on the floor of their bathroom. Heather, their girlfriend, finds their body and alerts the others. Magnus orders everyone to stay inside the platform, and Kat tells him she will test the ash. Shortly after, Volmer notices a series of lights in the ocean. These are not coming from Platform 2, and believing they are rescue helicopters. He asks Alwyn for help to signal them, however. While they are outside, the door closes and they are stranded on the deck. Luckily for them, the ash stops. Alwyn stays on the deck, while Volmer tries to enter from another side. Fortunately, Magnus hears him and opens the door for him. When they let Halloween in, he reveals to them that Hoodin escaped. The stubborn old man is in the control room, taking the keys to the reserve ship. If he manages to reach him, he can get everyone out of there. He doesn't care what Magnus or that idiot Rose thinks. No one else has to die for the company. It's time to escape. Magnus tells him the orders approved, everyone will leave, and Hutton calms down for now. A few minutes later, all employees prepare for evacuation and Dunlop tries to contact the ship. Howland won't leave Buzz, so he goes to the deck to find him. He's sure the young man just hit his head and they can help him in the city. After several minutes, he finds Buzz. He is in the boarding area, very close to the relentless ocean that crashes against the platform. Alwyn tries to convince the boy to return with him. They'll get help and he'll be fine. But Buzz refuses and says he wants to see for himself. It's close and everyone will witness. Buzz approaches the edge as if he plans to jump into the water, but Alwyn grabs him by the arm. At that moment, the boy turns and attacks Alwyn, but he grabs him by the neck and yells it's time to see. Quickly, Alwyn vomits salt water and collapses. Dunlop arrives and Buzz flees. When Kat analyzes Alwyn, she tells everyone he drowned, though he never touched water or fell into the sea. Then, Kat shows them what she found. The ash has a virus that enters the body through wounds. This virus is invasive and attacks aggressively, taking control of the host. If this is happening on all platforms, it could signal the end times, as the company operates worldwide, so they don't know how many could be infected. Also, the ship isn't responding to their calls and there's no way out. In fact, they don't know if it's a good idea to leave the platform, since who knows what's happening in the coastal cities. The first season ends with images of the two platforms surrounded by thick fog, as we see Buzz communicating with the ocean and Fulmer with a small infected cut on his hand. We immediately move on to Season 2. After several days trapped on the platform, communications resumed and the entire team was able to be evacuated just before a great tide sent by the ancestors destroyed all the platforms across the ocean. The message is clear. Humanity is a plague that is destroying the planet, and the ancestors are the first of many who are there to restore order. The huge tsunami not only destroys all the platforms, it also causes massive damage to the coast and nearby cities. The team must keep flying in the helicopters until they reach a platform in the Arctic. Upon arrival, Fulmer and Kat are locked in a room, separated from the rest, as they show symptoms of being infected with the spores. From the bridge, the team watches the news of how the tsunami has swept everything in its path. Entire cities have been submerged, and the wave still hasn't stopped. A few hours later, Cook, the leader of the facility, appears with the news. Each can return home with family and receive $200,000 each, but all must sign a confidentiality agreement. No one can know what happened there, and the company cannot be linked in any way to this global tragedy. Those who refuse to sign the contract cannot leave the platform and must wait for the CEO to come to discuss with them. A few hours later, Morgan, the representative of Kinlodge, appears and is welcomed by Magnus and Rose. She confesses to them that it is not the first time they have encountered the ancestors. The platform they are standing on is not for extracting oil. They use it as a research center, as another of the ancestors' lives under the ice, and they have been studying it for the last 10 years. At that precise moment, a crisis is occurring with the tremors caused by the ancestor in the ocean. The research team is trapped at a depth of over 4,500 meters, and they need everyone's help to get them out alive. In Kat's case, after running tests, they discovered that she is pregnant, so Morgan tries to convince her to sign the contract and go home for the sake of her future child. At the rescue station, Kyle, the team leader, tells them the trapped members have just over 1 hour of support left. Heather walks around and reaches a lab full of jars with lights. There she meets Askell, the head of researchers, who tells her that these are the spores the ancestors released into the air. Easter, the chief mechanic, prepares the rover to descend with Kyle. They reach the point where communication was lost, and a few meters later find their companion's submarine destroyed. Cook tells them to recover the bodies. They need to know what happened to them and if the ancestors had anything to do with all this. While they do this, Heather tells Askell something is happening to their tubes. The spores start spinning violently and the sensors go crazy. At the seabed, the rover is surrounded by millions of spores attacking the ship, destroying movement functions and stranding the team. Once Kyle sees how the spores attack the glass, he runs with Easter to the sealed compartment and follows Kyle's advice, who tells him to activate the electrosonar pulse, causing the spores to retreat. On the surface, Fulmer suffers just like the spores. When the pulse is released, it's clear they have a connection, and now that's evident to everyone. After placing explosives on the ice, the rover activates the floats and reaches the surface without problems. At that moment, the team gathers, and while they discuss what they are facing, Morgan appears on television with Kat, who publicly thanks Kinlodge for saving her life and her babies. It is clear that Morgan is doing this to ease the tension. He doesn't want the world to know that they caused the tsunami, and tricks like this are useful to keep public opinion on their side. Shortly after, Rose argues with Fulmer about what happened when they activated the pulse. It's clear he has a connection with the ancestors and is doing nothing to help. Does Fulmer realize that he is being completely useless? So he goes to Magnus and tells him that they should check why the rover went to that part of the ocean. With other closer points available, why they decided to go to the deepest one. Kyle, who hears this, gets nervous and leaves the room without drawing attention. When Magnus tries to access the rover's records, he finds they have been erased, indicating Cook is hiding something important. Everyone heads to the laboratory and finds Cook yelling at Askell for revealing confidential information to Heather. Just then, Magnus shows up with the team, and they tell Askell it's time to tell the truth. The world is in danger, and they think it's his fault. Askell gets scared and says it's not true. He's discovered the ancestors are connected worldwide. The mission of the rover was to inject a poison he developed into one of the nodes, hoping that it would spread to all the others and eliminate them once and for all. The plan seemed feasible, but since they arrived, the spores in the main nodes have multiplied by 10, and Cook believes it is Fulmer. He is convinced that the supposed connection he has with the ancestors has been giving him away from the beginning and orders him to be removed from the platform immediately. Fulmer tries to tell them he's not a traitor, but when the group watches the recordings of what happened to the rover, Volmer feels deep pain and falls unconscious hearing the noise from the ancestors. In Morgan's case, he met with Darian, who shows him the safe zone is nearly complete, revealing Morgan is ready for anything. If they stop the ancestors, they will remain a leading company worldwide, but if they lose and the world has to start over, she will have her piece of the world with everything she might need. Although Coke tried to get rid of Fulmer, he visits him in the infirmary to tell him that what they need to save the world might be in his mind. Every time Fulmer listens to the recording, he has visions and hears voices. Maybe it's a message he hasn't bothered to try to understand yet, so he wants your support. But first, they need the recordings from Rover 2. Coke confesses that he didn't erase them. The memory wasn't in the vehicle, so someone stole it. And since no one can find Kyle, he needs his help to find him. Fulmer walks across the platform. Minutes later, he reaches Kyle, who threatens to throw the memory into a dump, but eventually gives up and hands it over without a fight. As soon as Fulmer leaves with the memory, Brenner, Cook's right-hand man, appears and tries to kill Kyle. Fortunately, the young man breaks free and escapes. Fulmer brings the record to Coke, but upon reviewing it, they realize it's fake and there's nothing they can use. Furious, Coke grabs a gun and goes looking for Kyle. When he finds him, they fight, and Coke seems to win, but stops before killing the boy. Kyle takes advantage and treacherously stabs Coke's neck. Quickly, Kyle throws his body out of the rover's exit, and Coke sinks. However, Fort Palmer saw it all on the cameras and reported it. Before they can think about what to do with Kyle, the team informs them that some red cliffs have appeared in the distance from the station. Rose suggests investigating, but considering past events, it might be an ancestor's trap. The group votes and decides not to send a unit to the cliffs. It's the first presence of the ancestors on the surface, and they can't risk falling into a trap. When the team leaves, Easter talks to Magnus and confesses Kyle's biggest secret to him. It turns out that his brother died on a mission ordered by Coke. He didn't care in the slightest about his death. They just covered it up and continued with operations as if nothing had happened. That's why Kyle hated Coke. His brother was all he had, and his death was in vain until he took action and got revenge. Magnus understands their reasons. Coke was a son of a bitch, but out there are thousands of brothers, mothers, and grandparents in danger because of what they caused. The information in the record he stole could help them put an end to all this. In Morgan's case, she has received a visit from Darian, who brings her bad news. The council has met and decided that she is not fit to resolve this crisis. So as soon as the situation is under control, she will be dismissed and Darian will take over all her responsibilities. Morgan threatens to tell the public the truth, but Darian shows her she'd face the electric chair. If she does that, the best she can hope for is to receive her pension and retire to live in peace for the years she has left. Kinlodge is known to be a company expert at hiding its mistakes and could make her disappear without any problems. Back on the platform, Magnus gives Kyle a few minutes to think about what he'll do, when Heather tells him that Askell escaped from the platform and is heading towards the Red Cliffs. The boy took all his equipment to analyze the area, but since he doesn't know how to drive, he went on foot. Heather volunteers to accompany Magnus and rescue him. Meanwhile, Darian calls Brenner directly, offering protection and $1 million to do something for him. He says Morgan is no longer in charge, and he must choose the winning side. Back with Askell, the young man has a sample of the cliff and analyzes it, concluding that these cliffs have emerged from the depths of the ocean and produce spores inside. Magnus arrives, and they get them out of there, but at that moment the spores in the laboratory stir once more, and the GPS equipment in the car fails. Additionally, a tremor creates cracks in the ground and the truck gets stuck, leaving Magnus and the boys stranded in nowhere. With the help of a steel cable, they manage to free themselves and speed across the ice. Millions of spores begin to appear beneath it, illuminating the ice below them, closely pursuing them until they attack and destroy all the ice around them, leaving them on the verge of falling into the sea. Quickly, Askell takes out his laptop and throws his headphones into the sea, then plays the recording from the rover's logs and the spores move away, allowing them to narrowly escape. Kyle makes a decision and agrees to give them the memory of Rover 2. But at that moment Brenner appears with a gun and threatens to kill him if they don't hand over the memory. On the other hand, Kat, who has been tending to the injured at a nearby camp, encounters his wife, just rescued. Her condition is critical, so Hutton helps her reach Morgan, who tells her that he no longer has the power to get her out of there, but he can get her the medical attention she needs. With this, Cat manages to stabilize his wife. Now he just has to tell her that she's pregnant. By whom? We don't know. Before leaving, Morgan gives Cat a drive with enough evidence to prove that Kinlodge caused the tsunami. She has the opportunity to seek justice, because she likely won't survive to see it. Back on the platform, the team thinks of a way to rescue Rose from Brenner, who threatens to kill her if Kyle doesn't hand over the memory, and they have locked themselves in the bridge. From the control room, Brenner orders a full evacuation of the platform. He doesn't want anyone lingering until they have the memory and his helicopter arrives. Next, he takes them to the deck. But as they climb the stairs, Rose attacks him with a fire extinguisher, knocking him down and escaping with Kyle, activating the sealing protocol. As they flee, Brenner cuts the platform's electricity. Luckily, Fulmer helps Magnus and they open the doors by hacking the access panels. After a while, Magnus manages to reach Rose and Kyle, who are relieved that he had a weapon with him. Kyle tells him that he hid the memory in the processing room, so the team sets off, alert to a possible attack from Brenner. After a while, they reach the room and recover the memory. As soon as they have it in their hands, the light returns and Brenner appears with a hostage. He threatens to kill him if he doesn't hand over the memory, and Rose gives in, but when Brenner releases the hostage, she attacks him. A few tense seconds later, Brenner's gun goes off and the bullet ricochets, wounding Rose in the abdomen. Brenner takes advantage of the chaos and flees. Rose begins to bleed out quickly and dies, to everyone's surprise. She starts having visions of the ancestors and sees the heart of everyone next to her. The team watches the bullet become special, and her wound heals, bringing her back to life. When Rose wakes up, she seeks out Fulmer and tells him she now understands everything. The ancestors are not the ones who will destroy the Earth. They are the planet's backup system to regenerate after a tragedy. They were the ones who bothered them, so they believe humanity is a threat to the planet. But if convinced otherwise, everything will return to normal. The next morning, a video of Morgan admitting responsibility for the tsunami goes viral. In the video, she confesses to having worked under the orders of Kinlodge, who tried to hide their guilt and murdered several workers in the process. Morgan returns to the platform and meets with Rose and Magnus. He tells them that Kinlodge has been searching for the location of the heart of the ancestors for years. They want to kill them to continue exploiting the planet. That's why they must prove otherwise. Show the world that the ancestors are protectors, not enemies. The team prepares, and with the help of Kyle and the rover's memory, they locate the heart of the ancestors. They want to record it and show the world that Kinlodge wants to kill the world. Once the mission begins, Magnus says they still don't know where Brenner is, so he grabs a weapon and starts searching for him. Rose, driving the rover to the indicated location, doesn't realize Brenner sent a drone to follow her, loaded with the Skell's poison to kill the ancestors. Once Rose finds the heart of the ancestors, Brenner releases the poison just before Magnus surprises him from behind and shoots him in the shoulder. From the rover, Rose can hear the ancestors making noises similar to cries of pain. Darien has achieved what he wanted, to kill the protectors of the world, and Rose did not arrive in time to show the planet the truth. Rose sees how the branches of the ancestors in the seabed lose their luminosity, so accepting that they don't have enough energy to return, she puts on the suit and leaves the rover. There she encounters one of the branches that is dying. She takes it with her hand and can hear the ancestors, so she tells them they can heal in the same way they healed her. Before Rose can realize it, a huge glow appears nearby, illuminating the seabed, and she can see how the heart of the ancestors comes back to life. It is shaped like a giant tree, and its branches spread worldwide, illuminating the seas of the entire planet. The world can finally see that every branch growing in the ocean is part of a life form that protects the planet, and now they know that Kinlodge tried to kill it. Quickly, the news went viral, and all the nations of the world united to bring Darien and the company to justice. Magnus managed to rescue Rose from the depths using the backup energy. However, she knows this is not over. Kinlodge is a company with unlimited resources, and they will surely want to take revenge on them for what they have done. The second season ends with the team taking control of the platform and all its resources, while we see a satellite from the company King George monitoring them 24/7. And that's how the season summary of this series ends. Subscribe, turn on notifications,